Welcome everyone to episode 34 of the Phoenix Report. I'm Jack Connor. This is definitely a different episode than anything I've done before. A couple weeks ago I was talking to some friends of mine and they were like, Jack, you should do like since it's a new year, since it's 2017, you guys should do like a 2016 year in review sort of episode. And I was thinking great. But then I was like, okay, well, what does that mean exactly? Like, how am I going to do that? So I figured this would be an interesting time to kind of play with the format of the show a little bit, and all the guys I have three gentlemen here right now Skyping in with me. You can't see them, but I can. So I'm having a lot of fun trying to do this intro while they're goofing off on camera. You won't be able to see it, but that should set the tone for what this thing is going to be. Getting some nice camera angles there, some nice shots of nose hairs and the like. It's really compelling stuff. But I wanted to get three guys from all the different panels that I talk about, the music, movies, and wrestling. And so I figured these three guys would provide an interesting insight into that. First of all, first of which, I definitely want to introduce the bassist of my band, Vertebreaker, my partner in crime, and certainly my cohort in all things music, Mr. Rod Bobo.
Hello, Jacques.
How you doing, man?
Good to be on the Phoenix Report once again.
Of course, and of course, sort of my co-host in the world of movies, comics, pop culture, all those things, and a coworker of mine as well, John Walters.
What? 2016 is done?
That's crazy. I know. And now I was originally going to have Corey W. From the Chronocord Podcast Network, and also sort of the co-host of my wrestling panel. But I found sort of a last-minute replacement, and this guy kind of is not only a wrestling fan, but also a pop culture fan, also a big music fan. He's one of my favorite promoters that I've ever worked with. He's the CEO of Chris Marsh Productions. Please welcome Chris Marsh.
What is up, 2016?
That's true. So I guess everyone talks about how crazy of a year 2016 was with with the celebrity deaths and with the election and all this other stuff. And not that I really, dive into a lot of these like hot button issues or anything, but people say it's been a crazy year, or this year it's going to be the end of the world, but it seems like people say that about every year. I mean, this is kind of a broad way to jump into this, and again, we don't really have too much of an outline, but how was 2016 for you? John, let's start with you. How was your 2016?
My 2016, overall, I was really good. Probably the best news for me was that I was going to have my second. The news of having my second child, which was pretty crazy because we weren't exactly planning on it yet. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's not like we weren't not trying, I guess you could say, but it was just like a pleasant, little surprise, and so it's another girl. She'll be here March 1st. So that kind of takes the cake for 2016 for me. But overall, I feel like it's been pretty good. And it's just as far as the movies is concerned, it's just another great year of movies in general.
Exactly. Now, I mean, obviously, you guys know that, John and I, we tend to focus on the, sort of the superhero stuff, but also the pop culture things like Star Wars and just, big movies that kind of everybody likes to see. Well, maybe not everybody, but certainly a lot of guys who, are of our ilk tend to gravitate towards all that, geek culture, for lack of a better term. John has been, one of my main guys, as far as that goes, and sort of my unofficial co-host on that deal. So he's been on every one of them. Chris, I know you've had a pretty busy year with just Chris Marsh Productions growing and throwing all kinds of different events. How did the year treat you?
Well, to be honest, it was a roller coaster of good and bad. Early 2015, being that it was done, went through a big issue. 2016, when it got kicked off, we started working on the 5th annual Mayfest. And, of course, in May it happened, large crowd. But unfortunately, as many of you know, recently the County Line is no longer, the building is gone.
Right.
And there's no real new venue to go from there with it, really. I mean, honestly, a lot of the venues in the Melbourne area just completely disappeared. Landfill shut down. Boondocks is gone. County Line being gone. So all the small venues and the venues that were basically popular are now no longer. So that kind of left me in a kind of a whirlwind of like, what do I do next?
Right. Now the County Line Saloon, for those of you who don't know, is it was a large club, mainly like a country bar, but also like a music venue in there, and it just recently, I think, got demolished. But certainly, and I'm segueing this over to you, Rod, but certainly you and I, as Vertebreaker, we played there a couple different times. Chris, you mentioned this year being kind of a roller coaster, and Rod, I'd say even for us in the band, 2016 was kind of a roller coaster year as well. We definitely had some ups and downs. What do you have to say about that?
2016 is like a blur.
Right.
like it really is. Like, so much stuff happened last year that it's like I remember it all, but when I try to place it to like what month that was, I mean, like when we talked a little while ago about the shows we did in Georgia at the time of Mayfest. We were out of town.
That's right.
That was only in May, but it seems like it was
Seems like it was yesterday.
Seems like it was 2015 to me. You know what I mean? Like, I was like, man, that seems like a long time ago. But it's just been a busy year. I know we were busy. We had a lot of goals we were working on for 2016, and we achieved some of them, and some of them we fell short. But hey, there's 2017, right?
Absolutely, and I think like I said, we did have a few ups and downs in terms of like certain shows that we played or certain situations we found ourselves in. The good heavily outweighed the bad, so. I'm definitely not trying to be negative. It was just, one of those things. There were a couple instances where maybe things didn't go quite the way we hoped it would, but overall, I can't really complain because, we're still here, we're still doing our thing, and we still have, everyone's still getting along in the band, and certainly we still have, a lot of music that we have yet to put out, and we're still enjoying it. So.
And we added a haunted house to our list.
That's right.
You played at a haunted house?
That's right, John. We did. Like I want to
say. Was this up in Georgia?
No, this was actually in Altamont Springs, which is like North Orlando.
Oh, that whole place is.
Is this the Barry showcase thing over at
Petrified? Yeah. Shout out to our friend Barry Nadler who put those together. We played at a show at a place called a Petrified Forest. It was sort of a haunted house attraction there, and as we understood, they had musical acts there before, and they had a stage on the outside, and people would go there. You'd have several different haunted house attractions, but like the stage would be outside those haunted houses. So like we weren't necessarily inside the structures per se, but like out, like there would be a line, people were waiting, and the stage would be kind of on the, kind of in the distance where people could come see, and there would be a few benches there set up and a few areas where we could sell our merchandise, and it was an interesting experience. Like we played 2 weeks in a row. The first week I should say two Thursdays in a row. Not like 2 weeks straight. We didn't play there.
Right.
Just wanted to clarify that. But like we had one show that was acoustic, and then one show that was electric. That was the full band plugged in, and neither of them were particularly well attended. But
seeing as to you guys are kind of I would say like a metal band, right? Would that be fair?
Yeah, well, I would say we were hard rock and
okay, hard rock.
Hard rock
for
band,
for the acoustic. Did you guys have like everybody in the band like playing, or how did that go? How does that go?
Almost everybody, because we couldn't have all five of us there because one of our guitar players, Ryan, was on tour with another band at the time.
Okay.
But we were still able to set up and still have like drums and bass and stuff like that. We just kind of played acoustically, and sometimes you mess around with the arrangement of the song, but I think our songs kind of lend themselves to acoustic pretty well. I mean, in my opinion, I mean, the thing, and adding you to this, John, I think it adds a really fresh perspective because there might be a few things that you are curious about as far as like what it's like to be in a band or what it's like to be around that you might not be familiar with. And if you had any questions for us, this would be a great time to get them out there. Anything you were curious about.
Well, anything that comes up, I'll ask it, man.
But yeah, no, like I said, that was an interesting experience. Not necessarily. It wasn't necessarily a huge exposure for us, but it wasn't a bad experience either. It was
now talking about exposures coming up. There is supposed to be this documentary thing that's been in the works for a little while now, which part of 2016 that I understand. So
Yes, as well. I mean, I think for most of 2016, it was it's been under construction. For what Chris is talking about is it's a documentary that our friend Al Corey and his company Alicore have been putting together that our band has been featured in.
There's five bands altogether.
Yeah, and that has since kind of been reorganized a little bit just because there have been a lot of issues on Al's end and with the other bands you've had guys coming and going. So I think the plan right now is to have that split up into different parts, and I think we'll get our own documentary thing. I guess I think
every band's going to get their own documentary showcase basically, and I think right now Soul Switch is scheduled first on the list.
Sure, and Chris is heavily involved with that company as well with Al Corey.
We basically are co-producing it, and it was a general idea that. The idea really actually came from the Murderfly documentary that was originally done by Kyle. He actually produced it, and it was probably a 2.5-hour documentary where he followed Murderfly all over the state of Florida practically, doing shows and different stuff. And I had given him that DVD, and in doing so, it kind of gave him this broad idea, like, why can't we just put a couple bands together on one DVD and do it that way? And then things just kind of didn't really work out to where we tried to do that. So we're going to we reorganized, and now it's going to be each band's going to get their own separate one. But we're hoping by the end of the year to launch the full package where all 5 are on the box set and be done for Christmas. So in the next, I don't know, let's say March, I think it is, Soul Switch is supposed to be playing a show. When and where? Well, it's coming that'll be coming soon to a theater near you, kind of a thing. But that's the idea, basically, is we're going to separate each band and give it their own showcases and hopefully launch future bands on those showcases for the next documentary to kind of bring it in. So we've had to collaborate a little differently.
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely. John, I know at one point, you had revealed to me that you had kind of dabbled in like film and like directing and movie making and stuff. Is that still something that you've been doing recently, or anything that you'd have want to get back into?
I mean, it's definitely something I would love to get back into. Movies and just being behind the camera is something it's been a passion of mine, one of my passions, and it was like that's exactly what I went into college for, was basically film. And and believe it or not, yes, I am a diehard Florida Gator fan, but the first place I applied to was actually FSU, just because of their arts program, and I knew they had a good film program. So I didn't go to FSU. I ended up going to UCF for several reasons, but that was the first thing I pursued, was film. But so I have respect for everybody that does it in all kinds of fashions, and so it's pretty interesting to hear Chris talk about your production, and it seems like you have an angle for music and exposing, I guess, like your local amateur bands. Is that right?
Well, I wouldn't say amateur though, but I mean,
okay. Well,
every band we work with, we try to stay as professional as possible.
Well, sorry. I say that respectfully.
Of course,
I say that respectfully, as far as like
I get it.
No offense.
As far as like
no offense.
Yeah.
There's a difference between amateurs and professionals. There's a level of experience there.
I know exactly what you're talking about. It's the difference between like being an indie film or being a big budget blockbuster.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Very similar.
There's usually a guy somewhere in the middle.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean it's definitely an interesting thing, and that's what made me just love movies in general. Have my interest in general. It's just like, I want to be fully involved. What is going on behind the camera? What is going on in the editing session? And as far as what I'm doing now, like probably the closest thing is I don't do a whole lot. Let's just say that. But the closest things is just like doing some video editing for either my church or some friends with like certain little projects.
Sure.
So I still get involved with it a little bit. I do have editing software.
Well, even over at your church, I mean, some of the productions that your wife puts on, I know you've gotten involved with like lighting and stage managing and different things like that, and so I mean, it's definitely interesting to see how some of our worlds sort of parallel each other in different ways, which is I thought it was a cool idea to get all you guys together and just kind of see what happens. Yeah, I mean, overall, even besides all the music stuff, Rod, I mean, as far as like 2016 and everything that's been going on, have you been out seeing a few movies or anything? Any particular stuff going on in your personal life in the last year or so that's been like kind of standing out for you?
Oh man, that's like a joke between me and one of my buddies because he's like, Captain, go see every movie, and when we get together, he always has to ask me, please tell me you've seen whatever. He keeps naming all these movies. I'm like, no. I do watch a lot of movies. I don't go out to the movie theater a lot to see new movies. We go see a lot of kid movies.
That's true. Rod and his three stepdaughters definitely keeping him busy.
I've seen plenty of new animated movies.
There you go.
Hey, I love animated movies. I love
Trolls was great.
Okay.
Definitely.
Did you see Zootopia?
Of course.
That was a good.
I actually saw that on the plane. We were.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. Well, when Christina and I were going on our cruise.
Yeah.
In August or something, we were flying from Orlando to Vancouver to get on the ship. So I guess Zootopia was on like one of the in-flight movies or whatever. So we checked that out, and it was a cute movie. But it's funny, John and Chris, what you guys might not realize about what happens with the band, like 90% of our dialogue, me and Rod, between each other is like quotes from like Borat or That's My Boy or like random movies that come in together, and it's funny how like appreciation for stuff like that will lead to like inside jokes we have with each other, and so like I said, it's all these different worlds that kind of intersect at one point or another.
That's pretty cool.
We do communicate in movie quotes a lot, though.
We really do. I mean, I would say for the first year of our band existence, like I probably didn't hear Rod's actual voice. It was just a Borat impression throughout most of it.
What's your favorite?
The funny thing, though, is Jack resisted it for
I did.
probably the first 6 months of that year. Like literally, like saying, would you guys stop talking like Borat? It's so irritating. And then he broke down. And he talked like Borat for the rest of the duration of the year.
I mean, I just realized there was no fighting it at this point.
Right.
It was just...
If you can't beat them, join them.
Exactly.
So what's your favorite? What's your go-to quote?
Very nice. I like this.
Yeah.
What it is, Vanilla Face.
I will see you Vanilla Faces at practice tomorrow night. I like jamming. It's very nice.
Exactly.
Have you seen? I think. What was it? What's that guy's? That guy's name, the actor.
Sacha Baron Cohen.
Yeah. I got exposed to his. Ali G. Ali G. You know what I'm talking about? Oh my gosh, that is so funny. I don't know if you guys have seen it, Jack and Chris, but his Ali G stuff
I haven't seen a lot of Ali G, but I've certainly heard about it.
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't quite grabbed onto him as much as, like, say Borat or even Bruno or something like that.
Right. Well, he's a pretty good actor just in, like, certain niche, certain roles, for that kind of silly type of stuff. He's pretty good.
I was really hoping that he would have taken on
What?
like because he was gonna be in like the biopic of like of Freddie Mercury from Queen.
Yeah.
He really wanted to do that, but I guess the story he wanted to tell was like more just like raw and salacious, and the other guys from Queen were like, no, we don't really want to go there, and so he ended up bailing from the project.
Yeah. Well, a lot of that stuff is with biopics. It's especially hard because you kind of want to tell the truth, but the people who are the family, especially if that person's not around, they kind of don't want certain things out there. They're trying to protect the image. So biopics are a little bit tough to kind of tackle.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. It's funny, without Corey here, we probably haven't been talking about wrestling as much. I know, Chris, you're a fan of it as well. It's definitely been a crazy year for that. Yeah, he's making the sign like a little bit, kind of being sarcastic with it. But what do you think it is about like pro wrestling that like kind of connects that kind of is similar to like music and movies and is there something about that that you think attracts guys like us, like I mean you and me, to that, who are also into all these other things?
The female divas, basically. I mean, you can't say no to that.
Well, yes, they're there. The ladies are there. They have some.
No, but it's just the professionalism that most of these guys take. Some of them are like the bands. When you go see wrestling, a lot of times you're hanging out backstage area. Even the kids get autographs. Personally, me in my own store where I work, I've had wrestlers come in and say hi to me, when I'm trying to help them out. The last one was Bart Gunn from the Smoking Guns.
Oh, wow,
he still lives here in town. He's a big 51, 52-year-old man. And he's a big dude, very kind. Say, hey, how you doing? What's going on? Gets his stuff. Have a great day. But then there's others that they will not talk to you. There's others like I think James Quattrini was over in Orlando one time, and I think he hung out with he was at dinner, I think in Outback, and the Undertaker walked in because he was at a next door to the training camp kind of a thing. So they got a picture together. Those are the kind of things that make the WWE Universe meet and greet, the people version of that. A lot of bands, they go to the show, they play, and then they leave. I've had that in the past. Or there's bands that show up, hang out from the beginning to end, and don't leave until payday, which is normal, So it's just, I think it's the people person part of it all. To me, what connects
I also
Wait,
think.
Hold on. I'm just real quick. Are you talking about bands that are like at wrestling events?
Well, yeah. I mean, I'll go.
Well, no. I mean,
go.
John, I think what he's trying to say is that, I mean,
there's a correlation in the people.
The thing that attracts him to pro wrestling is similar to like what he sees in bands.
I gotcha. Yeah.
Where it's like the same positives and negatives will be there in terms of like professionalism and fan interaction. And
I gotcha.
I mean,
Exactly.
I know for me, it's like it's kind of a similar energy where it's like you have that live crowd and you have that it's performance based and it can be cinematic as well, as far as like telling stories and having larger than life characters, and when it's good, it's great. When it's bad, it's terrible. Kind of thing. I think that's a good way to describe it.
That's actually good to listen to this, just because that's actually a pretty good description that you just put on wrestling, at least. Just because, I got into it as a little kid.
Sure.
And it seems like a lot of little boys get into it. It's a natural progression. And then I'm one of the many probably that as soon as you find out it's fake, you just throw your
Sure.
arms up and.
Well, Rod still hasn't found out.
What?
Yeah, it's okay, man. Santa Claus is real. You're good. You're good.
So's Easter Bunny.
It's still real to him.
So, it's like as soon as you find out how you throw your arms up, said I can't follow this. So
you could say it's fake all day, but then you tell that to the guy that I just talked about, and his back is killing him. He's got medical conditions. His knees are hurting. Well, tell him it's fake, and then he's going to show you all his health problems that came along with it.
Well, sure. Do they put their body like in? Do they test their body? Sure, they do. But
it's
all
part
of
of the show.
Yeah.
I'm
just saying the way Jack put it, in that it's more of a performance type of thing, and almost cinematic, where it's like it's not cinematic, you can look at it and say this is not real.
Yeah.
And I love that about it because it takes me to, it kind of puts your mind elsewhere. It's an adventure. It's a storytelling aspect, and I never really looked at wrestling like that. After I find out I looked at it more of like like a football game. A football game.
Right.
That's the real deal, right? That's the real deal.
No, it's preset.
So that's why for me, when I find out wrestling was quote fake and scripted, then I'm like, well, this isn't the sport that I thought it was.
Yeah, it's still interesting.
But when you look at it as a like storytelling cinematic point of view, then it's different. Which I don't look at football that way, So
I think
that's
people
anyways.
get into the rivalry, right? Much like football
yeah.
teams. The way people are into their football teams, they're into their wrestlers too. There's factions.
Yeah.
Sure,
Yeah.
and a lot of sports like football will have a lot of guys who are, some of those guys can be like larger than life characters. Some of those guys like to talk a lot. There's definitely an entertainment aspect to what they do as well. And even though the outcomes aren't necessarily scripted, you could, there's, the NFL and other organizations, they're still trying to promote something. They're still trying to sell you a product and get you invested in the game. If they're,
Well, you definitely get hooked on like personalities, right? Personalities of players, just like you get hooked on personalities of wrestlers, right?
And even with continuity, with history, like if there are like two particular teams that have had a rivalry for years and years and years, like the Seminoles and the Gators or anything, even that transcends whoever was playing.
But at the same time, that's not the main focus, right?
Right.
Like wrestling, that would be the main focus. Would you say that would be like? I mean,
they do have rivalries that do last a while. Sometimes they'll go on for like endless amounts of weeks, and then before you know it, it's over, and you're like, okay, kind of like that. The Swiss Superstar versus Sheamus, They had that thing where they did like the best of 8 kind of deal and ended up becoming tag team partners after it was all said and done. It was like, wait a second, what just happened here?
Right.
Or even between particular companies like WWE and WCW during the 90s.
Yeah.
Right.
That was a promotional stunt.
That was almost like two teams going at it for real in a way, because they were competing with each other for ratings and talent and all other kinds of things.
So who decides? But somebody makes a decision on the outcome. Is that not right?
Yeah, I mean, it would be like in this case, it would be Vince McMahon. He's what they call like, he's the promoter. He's the CEO of the company, and I guess classically in wrestling they would call the writers bookers, because they would book the matches, and now they have like writing staffs and other creative team. But ultimately it comes down to like whoever the boss is, and in this case it would be Vince McMahon in WWE and that sort of thing.
See, when you say all that, I hear more movies than I hear sport.
Sure.
Yeah, it's almost it's literally like 100%. A movie, but it's live.
Yeah. That's why I was.
Jack,
that's
he's
why I was just.
Lee.
What's that?
He's the Stan Lee, and there's superheroes and supervillains.
Sure.
There you go.
Exactly.
There's battles in between.
And that's why I say, like, when you put it in that perspective of cinematic, then I look at it very differently. Because I always looked at it as the sport.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like,
right.
But it's not the sport. It's like it's the cinematic, the storytelling, and what's going to go on, like type of thing.
And you even find that a little bit in Ultimate Fighting and like UFC and stuff like that, which is a real sport, obviously. But you also get guys like Conor McGregor who get people talking and that sort of thing.
Well, yeah, just like in any sport, you have personalities.
Sure.
For sure. It's just a matter of this one is scripted and the outcome's already decided. Right. Yeah.
Now,
you just don't know as a viewer.
Exactly, and that's part of the fun of it. Now, Rod, you could probably look at all the people that we've encountered in our tenure, both with this band and with other bands, and we certainly run into a lot of characters, and a lot of similar situations where we try to promote our product and we try to entertain people and get people in the door. and once we have them there, how do we hook them? And there's a lot of similarities there, I would say, as well as even with
even the sore necks and sore backs after a performance.
Sometimes, I mean, thankfully we're not throwing ourselves at the ground, but it's not unlike making a movie or trying to promote a game or a show or whatever it is. It's like, you're out there basically trying to make your own product, sell it to people, be like, okay, what is going to make people get out of sitting at home, driving far to a place they might not normally want to go to, spending money to go in to a place where they might not necessarily get a seat. What can we do as a band that'll make people put in that sacrifice just to come see us play? And that's been a difficult thing that we've struggled with. And
that's the $1 million question right there.
Yeah. We and this is certainly no secret, but we had a run of shows in Orlando last fall. Some of which, we mentioned the thing we did with Barry, but there were also a few other club shows that we did. Some of them went okay, some of them not so much, but our band has been together about 3 years now, and we've gotten a little bit of a following, and ironically, all three of you guys are joining me from the Melbourne/Brevard area. Chris, I think, is up in Titusville. I'm out here in Orlando. I'm out here in Winter Garden. But even in Brevard County, we've gotten a little bit of notoriety. People kind of know who we are locally a little bit. Not that we have some sort of huge fan base, but we do okay. But we go to Orlando or Tampa, and nobody knows who we are out there, and we're still kind of struggling to get a little bit of a foothold in there. Even in Orlando, there are plenty of bands that we know out there and a few people, but in terms of getting casual fans in there, that's something that we're still kind of plugging away with.
There's something I wanted to point out real quick, is that I think when I first met you guys, it was for the Coliseum show, I believe, over in Daytona.
Yes, it was.
It was a long time ago. And the key to most of this, from me doing this for nearly 18 years, is to stay consistent. The minute you drop off the map, even for 3 months, it seems like everybody just goes obsolete after a while. It sounds like a familiar name for a song.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, yeah, but there's bands that have been out there for, let's just say, 20 years, and they play 1 to 2 shows a year, and then they don't understand why the fans aren't there. There's one band in particular for the last 5 years that I've worked with, and when I started work with them, they still play the same shows in the same spot on a regular basis. And I told them, I said, you need to move and do something somewhere else, and they did. And next thing you know, they played a couple of hard rock shows. Then they played some other places. Then they started this thing called Mayfest. And before you know it, now they have a huge following. But at the same time, it's persistence. You have to just keep at it and keep at it. I used to do what I call the triangle of shows. When I used to work with a band called Filth Tree back in the day, we would play in the Titusville area. Then we do Daytona. And then, of course, Orlando. You had to keep that triangle of shows constantly going. Unfortunately, in certain areas, especially here now it's kind of hard to do that. There's nothing really in Brevard. So if you're going to tackle Orlando, find different venues to bounce back and forth between on a regular basis. Let's say venue 578, Back Booth, The Haven. Just even to The Haven now is the only venue now really that's well known to let any band come in there and perform on any given night. And that's kind of where I'm at now too. It's that's where I have to book shows for right now. I don't have a venue for right now.
Gotcha. Rod, what do you think about that? I know we've certainly tried to stay consistent, in terms of playing shows and putting ourselves out there. Do you think that sometimes we overexpose ourselves, or that we're not doing enough, or what's your take on all that?
I don't know if you can ever overexpose yourself.
I mean, you really can if you want to expose yourself in one way or the other. But honestly, it depends on the venue and the location and the fans. Are they willing to follow you? Who else is playing? There's a whole bunch of what ifs and possiblies that could actually make or break a show. For me, mostly, I found that the biggest draw is usually the list of the bands performing as well. It's not just about one band in particular anymore.
Yeah,
that's always the hardest part.
I could see that. Definitely getting a package together.
Yeah, if you get a package deal, you're going to have a package show.
Yep.
And that's always been a battle, even for me. Even like the show I'm doing, in a little over 2 weeks. It took me a little bit to get that put together for the simple fact that bands were taking time off, people are out of town. There's a whole list of things on availability and blah blah blah. But it came together, and I created a heck of a lineup. It's just persistence, and then next thing you know, it's done. Now I have to work on the next one. I'm no booking agent, but I am a promoter.
Definitely trust us, John. Chris is one of the best. I mean, he's always been treated us really well and always put together really good shows. He's been doing this a long time, and he treats all the bands well, and he's honest. And that's not something you can say for everybody in that line of work. But
you said it, not me.
But we've been very lucky to have.
Awesome, man. That sounds cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's some really good promoters out there. You guys are working with James Cripps as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
You also have Chris Sherry, and then of course there are a few others out there that are doing their thing. Clint over the Haven.
Absolutely, yeah.
So, but there's also other bands who are actually taking their own responsibility and saying, you know what, I'll be the promoter, I'll do this and I'll do that.
Mm-hmm.
You also have Henry from Protege Inc., who just moved from the Fort Lauderdale area to Tampa. He's the promoter. He's a manager for Armada. And I think he just picked up another band here recently too.
Yeah, no, I think I've met him. I think I've talked to him a few times, like via Facebook.
Yeah, he sponsored the last show I did, the Mayfest.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I don't think I met him face to face, but we've interacted a few times here and there.
I didn't realize there's so few venues now in Brevard County.
Yeah.
Well, it was like that for Orlando too for a while, and then things just kind of it's a shift,
Okay.
So speaking of mechanism, the shift. But
it's like a musical ice age.
Huh?
It's like a musical ice age, because
Yeah.
I remember I've seen the music scene in Brevard as far as venues go from plenty of places to play to absolutely nowhere to play, and then back again, and then back again. It does shift.
Yeah.
Definitely.
It goes to Orlando now for me.
I'm guessing this is all mainly for like that hard rock type of music.
Even
right?
then, there's still that's still not even the issue. You could be an acoustic act and have nowhere to play in Brevard County unless it's like a small hole in the wall that holds barely 20 people, 30 people.
Yeah, I guess I think of like restaurants that I've seen bands at. I guess that's about it.
There's a place called Pub 44 New Smyrna that had a small indoor staging, but then all of a sudden, I guess somehow along the line they put one outside, and I'm like, okay, cool. But you also do Daytona.
And also another thing to keep in mind, John, is that there'll be certain places that'll book bands that just play covers, as opposed to like what Rod and I do, where it's like we have our own music that we write ourselves.
Your own production.
And it's just trying to make a name for ourselves in that way. Not that we have anything against cover bands necessarily. It's just not necessarily what we do.
And there's also promoters out there that I would never want to work with because they've ruined the scene in certain areas, be on their own. It's nothing I did. And then, of course, the venue says, well, I'm not going to work with anybody else because of that.
Right.
There's just so many ups and downs in this business. It's hard to work, in certain areas. I know there's a place called Bombshells. I don't even remember where the place is at, but they've even had like Mushroom Head in there, and the place, it's like a narrow hallway. And there's like 8 guys in a band. I'm like, how do you do it?
We've played there.
It's weird.
It's an interesting thing, and I think each of you guys can weigh in on this. I mean, especially you, Chris, as a promoter, and you, John, as kind of representing the everyday people out there. Do you think that, I think with all the different entertainment options people have now, do you think it's just harder, and maybe it's a combination of that or the economy in terms of getting people out to see live entertainment? And not just necessarily music, just other things like even going to see movies or anything. Chris, do you think that just new technologies and different options kind of hurt the live entertainment?
Yeah, I mean, of course, as you probably know, a couple of years back there was a band, a big major metal band that because of a certain company sued them because they were able to get their stuff online for free.
You can say it, Chris. It's Metallica and Napster.
I'm not gonna get arrested or thrown in jail for that.
Please, they're not listening
I
to this.
kind of used to have them on the wall there. But yeah, and I didn't just point that out.
You're not gonna get a call from Lars Ulrich be like, I can't believe you said that about us on the Phoenix Report. What do you think?
Oh, you listen to the Phoenix Report?
It's like my favorite podcast ever.
It just varies. It varies on who's playing and where. And the other problem is like when I went to go book my show for the 20th of January at the Haven, I didn't realize until it was afterwards that Henry from Protege Inc. had already booked one at West End the same night. So there's a competition of shows. Now it just depends on where the fans are going to go, because well, first off, who's playing? That's the first thing that's going through your head. As a fan of local music, that's what I used to do. Okay, well, who's playing where? What I would do is I'd go see this band and then go to the other place and see the other ones. Some people don't want to do that. Or they'll wait another week and go see it somewhere else. But my favorite movie's out tonight. Let's go see Rogue One. There's a different balance there.
Rod, what do you think about this theory in terms of like people having different options and about how that makes it harder to get people out?
Well, like Chris was saying earlier about package deals, like we've discussed this as a band. Like we think it's smarter to distance your performances so you don't oversaturate. But you're right, Chris. You got to put together like a great lineup of bands, and preferably at a nice venue. Because it's just like everything. I'm sure people are saying to themselves on a Friday night, like, what are my options?
Yeah.
What's in this for me? Like, what am I going to enjoy the most? So, yeah, options. There's a lot going on. It's definitely, you got to do something to to stand out, like something special to draw people in.
Gotcha. No, I know, John, you in particular, you're not necessarily as familiar with hard rock. I mean, I know we've talked about what kind of music you like. You're more into like the acoustic stuff and not necessarily into the hard rock and sort of thing. But like, if you had one of your favorite, or at least if you had like, if you knew of like anyone like on the local level that you were really jazzed about, you were really interested in seeing, what do you think would be like the determining factor of whether or not you go? Would it be like the location? Would it be who else is on the show? Would it be price? Like, I mean, maybe this isn't fair to ask because you have a young daughter at home, but maybe like what usually gets you out of the house on the weekends to go see something?
Well, I can answer it from a parent point of view, and then from my college point of view, which I was not a parent.
Right.
Yeah, obviously a parent point of view, it's definitely going to be, timing. Timing is everything as a parent. So obviously the later, it's probably going to be a little bit harder. As far as like, before kids, honestly, I don't really go see bands that much. It's not like local bands are just, I don't even go see concerts that much. Let's just put it at like big concerts, like big concerts. But as far as that, it's that all of that is just more of a convenience. Like, it's like it's not going to be my main target, but it's an added value type of thing to my objective. So with that said, it's more of a convenience. So is it going to be at a place that, that I can hang out with a lot of friends, or maybe, I don't know if it's dinner, or maybe it's something that has other forms of entertainment, or options. That's where I'm going to be spending my money, whether it's like a festival or something else that's going on. That's where I'm going to be able to see like a local band that I feel like, I kind of heard about this local band or whatever, that like, let's go ahead and go there and listen, but we can do something else if we want to, That's the way I looked at it for me. Unfortunately, I wasn't the type that like just seeked out bands and to go listen to, you know.
Sure.
And that was kind of a cool thing with Mayfest, was like when we put that together, bands would not even put a show together for that same day because they knew where they were going. I literally had people from the Haven showing up to the county line.
That's crazy.
It was weird. I mean, Josie was there, the door lady was there, Brandon, the sound guy, was there. I'm like, I think the Haven's closed tonight because there's half the people that work there were actually at the show.
Gotcha.
You know,
John, I'm
do that.
definitely, and John, I'm glad. I'm really glad to hear what you're saying about this, and I think it kind of goes back to all those things. You know, whether it's time, money, convenience, how all that relates to each other. Follow-up question: what will it take you to get you to a Vertebreaker show?
I do want to go.
You don't have to answer that. I'm not going to put you on the spot. I'm just saying.
No.
We would love
You know
to
what?
see you
This
there.
next one. That's all I'm going to ask.
You know, all I will say is don't, always remind me, like, don't ever feel like you're bothering me just because I haven't been able to go or anything like that. Like, that's something that, you know, I understand, and like I would love to hear you guys perform. You know, I definitely want to support you guys in it, and maybe I'll see Chris's name as a promoter on there. But yeah, I mean, like, just keep performing, really, and just keep me up to date as far as like, hey, we're gonna be nearby, or, you know, this might be something that might be able to work for you or something. Just let me know.
Very cool.
Now, if it's in Orlando or something like that, it might be a little tougher. But if it's in the area where I can get away for a little bit and then support you guys and listen, that would, you know, I'll do it.
What area are you in again?
I'm in Brevard.
Okay, well, so am I, so there's no excuse.
There you go.
No, it's all good though, John. I appreciate you saying that, and
I might have to give you a ride.
and I appreciate you saying that you're not bothered by me telling you about when it comes out, because I kind of go back and forth with that.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I don't want to be like that guy who's always bugging his friends to come out.
Yeah.
And be like,
yeah.
oh, my buddy's band is terrible, but I gotta go see him anyway, and it's just this and that. Like, 'cause I actually heard like somebody at the office like say some stuff about like the band or whatever, and how they hated it or whatever, and just like, and I'm like,
Did they go and watch you?
No.
Do they even have a CD?
No, I think they did. I think I gave them a CD one time, and then they were just kind of like clowning on it behind my back or whatever. But
Oh man, see, that's just disrespectful people.
yeah, no,
That's
and at the same time, I was like, well, it's like, do I want to be that guy at the office who's always like bugging people to go see his band? And it's like, I kind of go back and forth in my mind about that, because I know I should be that guy. I should be out there telling everybody about it, but then I'm like, I get self-conscious in my head about it. I'm like, am I doing the right thing? Or
you know, I kind of look at it like a job interview.
right.
As, you know, like, you want your name to be out there. You want your name to be out there all the time. You know, like you and I work together. You used to be at the Melbourne office. John Zuzik is the main boss there, and like I was able to get his information, and I contacted him a couple of times, getting his voicemail. But I contacted him, and he finally answered, and I was like, you know, I apologize for having to call all the time. And he's like, well, how else are you going to be able to get a job? You know, so like, he said that to me.
He's a great guy, for sure.
He's a great guy, but the point is that, like, you know, you have to be able to get your name out there. So I was thinking, I was like, oh gosh, he must hate me for this, but he's understanding, and, you know, I think most people are understanding. Like, they'd rather get the information and decide rather than get no information and not find out about it. You know?
Now he knows exactly how Chris Marsh Productions was created.
There you
I
go.
had to get my name out there the same way, man. I had to push. And I'm here to tell you right now, after 5 long years of putting it out there, the last 3 months, I have not worn my own T-shirt. As many people have known, I usually wear my own T-shirt whenever I go to my own shows. I have not done that lately. I've been promoting other bands. If I have the T-shirt, I put it on, I'm out there. The Central Florida Music Fest is the next one I've been wearing lately.
Yeah.
Been wearing a lot of the Burning Fair Verona, the BFK clothing line. I don't know if I have a Vertebreaker shirt yet or not. They don't have it in my size. Just kidding. Extra
I was about to
hard.
say, I'm like, we need to fix that ASAP. But yeah, no,
You got a Who's I one. Come on.
I mean,
you know?
there is something to be said about persistence. Like I've like met guys in famous bands who like I've given like they can tell that I've like tracked them down to like give them their CDs, and like I remember there's this one guy I met is Dave the Snake Sabo, who's the guitar player from Skid Row, one of my favorite bands. And he like looked at me, and this was years ago. Like I gave him the band I was in at the time their CD, and he was like, "You're very persistent. I like that." And
There
so
you go.
that was like really cool to hear.
Yeah. And as far as that, the coworker talking bad about you, like that's just disrespectful people. Unfortunately, you're going to have these kind of people.
You're gonna have
and
critics. Don't let it bother you.
yeah, unfortunately, everybody deals with that kind of thing.
Yeah, no, I mean
so
it's one of those things. I mean, I don't let that person really affect me all that much. It's just unfortunately, you can't always choose who you work with, but
No.
I get along with pretty much everybody there, so I'm not too worried about that. And it kind of relates to telling people about this podcast. And like I've been doing this for, I mean, wow, since the summer of 2015, so it's like a year and a half now. I've been doing this thing, and I've managed to have a lot of really great conversations with people. I've managed to form friendships over it, and just kind of keep friendships going, and even like meet people who I've been fans of. And it's been a great way. I mean, certainly, I'm sure you can attest to this, Rod. It's been a great way to promote our band and everything we do, and all this other stuff. And I was glad to have you in the band as a part of it, and to kind of highlight each guy individually. And I'm really glad to have everybody here be a part of it.
I think I kind of hounded you a little bit, Jack, when to get on there.
Yeah, like I mean, even when I first
harassed you.
When I first started it, like I remember Chris would be like, "Dude, when am I gonna get on the podcast?" And I'd be like, "Dude, you're gonna get on. Relax, I'm getting you on." But
6 weeks later, when am I gonna do it?
I'm like, okay, and it's like I don't even think I knew you that well at the time. I was like, who is this guy? But
all I knew is when I got there, I had free food. That's all I know.
Yeah, yeah, you did. That was a good time. But I mean,
free food. Oh my goodness!
Yeah, between the rain, the loss of address, the parking, the food.
Yeah. When Chris was on one time, we were all practicing at our drummer Jarrett's house in like Sebastian. He was driving down from
middle
Titusville.
of nowhere.
Yeah, like he was driving down, couldn't find the address. We had to like text him several times on the road. There were a couple wrong turns here and there. But
I pulled into the neighbor's house, which I thought was abandoned. I didn't know what was going on.
Which is not your fault, because it is back there. It is off the beaten path, shall we say? But
yes, it really is.
But you did get there, and we did a really cool little podcast there, in which you were talking about it, all that was happening with your business.
I think Greg wasn't there at the time. I replaced him that night.
No, I think Greg was there. Wasn't he?
There was one person that was not there that night.
Yeah, no, that's right. I think Greg was out on like a business trip or something.
Yeah. Yeah, that's when I introduced Sarah as my business associate.
That's right.
And a few other things, yeah, for shows, and yeah, it was a good podcast.
Yeah, it was a fun night for sure. I definitely want to go around and just kind of see how you guys have felt about being on the podcast so far, about stuff like this and other discussions we've had and other times where it's been one-on-one. Rod, you were on once before. I think this is only your second time being on, but do you think it's been a good thing for the band? Do you think it's helped us or hurt us in any way, or what do you think about it?
I think it's been helpful because you cover so many subjects on your podcast, so therefore you reach a diverse group of people. So I think that they find out that you're in a band, like maybe some of them after the fact, and that helps, get more people check us out. But you spit out some episodes, man. Like what episode are you on now? What'd you
like 3,555,000 or what?
Well,
is
this would technically be 34, not counting all of like the different like wrestling and movie stuff that I've put out, which is all I kind of put it in a different category, because it'll be a reaction to stuff. So I'll categorize it with like R and whatever number that is. So it's like 34 plus I've done like 16 of those. I almost have the Rogue One review out. I'm kind of editing that right now as we speak. Well, not right as we speak, but like right before we were doing this.
He's playing video games literally right now. Just
no, and you
not even use my hands. It's weird. I don't know how it works. But
you've been on other podcasts where they've had you on as as Jack, the lead singer of Vertebreaker, but also as Jack from the Phoenix Report. So it's definitely helpful.
It's kind of cool. I mean, again, I don't even know if anybody's listening or not. I try to get people to give me feedback, but I mean, I do hear like Chris, like Sarah has mentioned to me about how like people, she'll say like, Jack, people are really talking about your podcast, man. It's really kind of a cool thing, and it's cool to hear because it's like I don't necessarily know if people are talking about it or not, but like to hear her say stuff like that is really cool. I don't know if. I don't know if that has done anything for the local scene or not, or if that's I don't know. I mean, what are your thoughts on it? And you could be honest.
I think
for me, I mean, I've personally been on not only just podcasts, but also like over the internet, like we're doing now, interviews. I think last year I was on 4 or 5 of different ones, and it was the first time I ever did that many between Metal Zone Radio. I think I was on the podcast for here. Did 98.9 Rock up north with Sonic Assault, and there was like 2 others. And I'm like, after a period of time, it's just like you started noticing like there's so much exposure with just doing, whether it's one or all of them. You get your name out there, you're promoting not only yourself, but everybody else that's on here. It's an exposure, which is cool. Because people are like, well, I've never heard of Vertebreaker before. So they go online and check you guys out. If they like you, they click like, and next thing you know, they attend a show. And then, they bring their friends, and they're buying your merch. And it varies. For me, it was the same way. Mm-hmm. I just enjoy being on podcasts for the simple fact that there's a chance of being promoted, not only for myself, but you guys. It's a promotional tool.
I'm cool. I'm definitely glad that it's been, positively received. John, like you've been kind of my partner in crime when it comes to like the movie podcasts and everything. And I mean, how has that experience been for you? Is it cool kind of being part of a group dynamic? Is it being part of a panel? Like, how do you feel about the process?
Yeah, well, first of all, like I listen to a lot of movie news. I listen to a lot of movie podcasts, and like I have a lot of my own thoughts and opinions. And so first and foremost, like when you kind of came up to me and was like, hey, I know you like movies, I like movies, you want to talk about it. I mean, it's an honor to be on here. I'm definitely, appreciative of that. And we've been on it for so much on so many movies for this year. I feel like it's kind of like, this is your, it's like your baby type of thing, but it's like, I almost feel like I'm like, it's like, I don't know, it's like adopted father also of this, at least of one section,
Well,
and,
I mean, that's definitely, man, because you've been like the one guy who's been on like almost every one of them like consistently. So that's definitely been a part of that, and I probably know you better than I mean, not that I don't know the other guys well, but you and I, like, we talk pretty much every day.
Every day, yeah.
So that's a part of it as well. And a lot of times, like Seamus, I didn't really. Seamus is another guy on our movie panel, by the way. Like, I didn't really know him that well until I like randomly met him at a Batman vs Superman screening. He was just a dude I met there, and like he and I got to talking. Like, we didn't have any other connection besides that. But like since then, he's become a buddy of mine, and he's been on the podcast and just all these other kind of things. And he's like asking me about the band and asking me about all other kinds of things that is going on. So it's like I've really managed to like create some friendships with this thing.
I think because of that, I'm like, oh man, I want to put input out there respectfully on like, oh, let's what are some ways we can like maybe add something else or change something else. I was just wondering, do you, on your podcast. I haven't looked on the actual YouTube stuff lately, but like as far as your YouTube page, do you have your episodes like just one after another on the different topics like music and wrestling and movies, or do you have it like playlists as far as like here's your movie side and then here's your your other categories?
It's kind of both. Like I have them on there like sequentially as they're added, but I do also sort them into playlists.
Okay.
Where like if you want to just go and see the like the music episode, or I mean I should say the movie reviews, they're all there in one playlist.
Actually, I think I do remember seeing your movie review playlist.
Yeah, and like the wrestling stuff is in there as well.
Okay. Yeah, because I think that's really important because you have different target audiences for your podcast.
Yeah.
And so like not necessarily everybody's gonna want to hear everything.
Right.
So that's really good. I think I do remember it. You do have it that way, split up into different sections. Because you have like this is episode, 35 or something like that?
This would be 34 of like the quote unquote the main episodes, where it's like most of them are one-on-one interviews.
Yeah.
But this one, I mean, and it's kind of hard to figure out how you delineate them,
but you don't have that in like the actual podcast, like in the description, right? Or because it might be confusing, like, oh, am I skipping a podcast episode? You know what I'm saying?
Right. No, I mean I do number them. Like there is a numbering convention. Like this would technically be 34 of like the main episodes, but also like it would be like R1 or something to be the first like reaction piece, which have kind of turned into what the wrestling and movie stuff are now.
Yeah.
They're reactions to things, so I just put them under R, and I don't know, it makes sense to me.
All I can say is that, like, number one, it's awesome that you went for it for a podcast. And not only that you went for it, but you've stuck with it. You pursued the different passions of yours, and you got to be able to talk to different people about it. So that's the most important thing, is that you're doing that and you're putting content out. Not everything happens like overnight, but the fact that you're doing something that you love and you're putting content out there, that's the most important. And you have something here, and really you can go into each category, and you can figure out like what are some improvements or what are some different things that you can do about it to just keep improving it. But the main thing is you're going for it, like you have something here now.
Thanks.
I think that's pretty cool, and it's an honor to be a part of that.
Thanks, and I think it works out because keeping in like the whole New Year theme to this, it's all about self-reflection, about what we've done and where we're going, and that's I'm glad to have you guys on here to kind of reflect on what has been going on, and just because I remember when I first wanted to do this thing, and I remember talking to my wife about it. And she'd be like, oh, okay, yeah, you can do that if you want. But she's like, is anybody going to listen to that? and I mean, I don't think she meant it in like a negative way, like as to discourage me. But I guess she didn't really see what the point of it was. And I'm like, well, I don't know if anyone's going to listen. I mean, I know that I like to listen to podcasts, but I also know that I like to have, I mean, I have certain things that I want to talk about. And I guess the way my life is right now, the way with between work and being in a band and other things, it's like I almost feel like I don't really get the chance to have like meaningful conversations with friends of mine or catch up with stuff like that. And even stuff like this, like you don't normally talk like this in casual conversation, but the fact that we're doing it under a podcast, I think it allows us all to kind of take a step back and be like, oh wow, okay, this is how I really feel about this person or this, event or something. And it's almost like it's kind of a weird way to make connections with people, but in a way I almost feel like it's kind of my connection with the outside world, in addition to putting content out there. And I'm sorry if this is getting too deep or whatever, but it's just, I don't know if that makes any sense to you guys. I mean, no? Maybe?
Yeah, I'm out, man.
I zoned out. No, I'm kidding. What?
Wow, you guys all
that's
just
good.
stone-faced me on that one. That was
I was on
amazing.
my Facebook. Sorry.
Awesome. That's great.
Nah. I just got done talking. I was gonna let somebody else take the floor here.
Yeah.
Well, I was gonna say, Jack, you were talking about Rogue One a minute ago, weren't we?
Yeah, I think we mentioned it briefly, and that podcast is coming out really soon. I don't know if that's going to be out before this one.
I want you to follow me for a second here, because
Okay,
I mean,
yeah. John,
there's something going on.
Yeah, John, Rod, you got to see Chris's like Star Wars
I
collection
mean, I have.
of memorabilia.
I mean, wrestling is on the TV right now. It's just
Yeah,
it's in
it
pause
is.
mode because
Wow,
I'm
look
on
at
this
that.
awesome podcast right now.
We're covering all demos here. I love it.
Going to the dark for a moment. Now, I don't know if you guys are ready for this. I really don't.
I don't know if I'm ready for this.
I'm gonna go long zoom. I got some stuff on the wall from some awesome bands. I'm not gonna name them all,
Yeah,
but
okay.
I mean that's just part of one wall.
Hello.
Nice. Look at that.
Look at that wall of fame. I think Vertebreaker's up there probably like 6 times.
This is great for an audio podcast, by the way. No one listening can see all this, but Chris is.
That's I don't know what that is right there at all. I mean,
Yeah. Well, anyways,
Oh,
what Chris is
you got
showing
an
is
at on there.
yeah, Chris is basically showing
That's
off
like
his
the
room
corner.
right now.
hold on, let me get
Very
zoomed out.
extensive collection of Star Wars memorabilia, different posters from bands, both local and big bands, and just a lot of different things. Chris is an avid collector of things, and I
got a
really
few things
appreciate
here.
that.
I got a few things in here.
Just a
I'm
few.
walking out of the Death Star room, so we're good.
So if you can only imagine, folks who are listening, he has a Death Star room. Think about that.
Yeah,
Think
look
about-
at that handsome fellow
Think
up there.
about your house, and then think about Chris's. It's good times.
Who is that handsome fellow?
That was me.
He's also showing a picture of his days serving our country in the Marine Corps. Thank you again, Chris, for your service. Semper Fi. Good stuff.
Yeah, I still got the old band poster banner up here too. The Filth Tree.
Mm-hmm.
I never get rid of anything.
You know, the funny thing is, John and I were laughing about this, like, last week and everything, like, how it's like, yes, like, I don't necessarily want to be like controlling everything, but at the same time, it's like, getting like a panel of different guys, it's almost like herding cats, and almost trying to keep things on course and like direct the things, and it's like. Because I remember, like, John and I, we would have different ideas, and John's like, okay, we need to have, like, a list of, like, you got to rank this particular movie compared to this thing and that, and we almost argued about this, but then we were realizing, like, wait a minute, why am I arguing with you about this? Because it's like, yeah, I know I'm the host, but I'm not trying to, I don't know, it's a weird thing, because I try not to, like, dominate the conversation or anything in real life, but it's like at the same time it's like I know that I have to like steer the ship a little bit, and it's your guys' job to get me off track, and I think we've done a beautiful job of that right now, because I don't even know.
I tried.
I know I had a point in there somewhere, but I completely lost it.
It was after seeing the room, yeah. But yeah, when you were talking about Rogue One, I figured we'd just jump into that since we were talking about it earlier.
Yeah, what'd you think?
As you know, being a collector since I was 5. And I'll be 45 in about 2 weeks.
What?
Yeah, I'm young. I'm just awesome. Well, all I have to say is, first off, it was better than The Force Awakens by hands down. I mean, Force Awakens was 30 years of there's a time gap in there that was completely missed. Jack and I actually talked about this in text, over to Facebook Messenger. There's a whole section of stuff that they completely did not put in that movie. But with this new one, Rogue One, it was that gap filler that everybody's been waiting to see, because between 1 and 3, it was great storyline, but then there was that time spot there that was just missing. Like, how did they go from here to here? It was a 3.5.
Mm-hmm.
So I was telling Jack, I said, but there's also something missing at the very beginning of it all, because in my mind, as a science fiction nerd, they missed about how everything was created. Like how, where the Jedis come from, where did the dark side come from? Because there was no, like, Anakin just came out from nowhere. Okay, well, did he run into a guy named Jesus or something, maybe? I don't know.
That's a whole thing, the whole virgin birth kind of deal that they had going on there.
Yeah, it's weird. So there needs to be a storyline from the storyline of the beginning. but that was really not the whole case.
Well, the funny thing is, we live in an age where that could conceivably happen. Now that Disney owns these things, we're going to be seeing Star Wars movies from now until the end of time. So you might get those movies.
It'll be like a Rocky movie number 33 where he's in a wheelchair or something. Who knows?
Like this time, it's not even personal. Like it's not.
But Force Awakens, from a 1 to 5, I would literally say it was about a 4.9 in my book. It was that good. I mean, now the beginning of it was a little weird because I couldn't follow it right away.
Were you talking about Rogue One or Force Awakens?
Rogue One.
Okay.
Now, in The Force Awakens, it was still kind of the same way. It was too distant, too far. That should have been number 8 kind of a deal. There should have been one in between.
Gotcha. Well, I mean, I'm sure we'll get some in-between stories in there. I'm sure as
I think they purposely did that.
Yeah, because they're missing the whole entire, like, if most people are always saying, well, the book came out first.
Yeah, it's supposed to be a new generation and all that, you know.
If you read the books, Han Solo and Princess Leia, they get married and have 2 kids, a boy and a girl.
Well, that was the old canon.
Yeah, that's not even.
That's just basically how it was described back in, back in 1990.
Right.
When I was reading the books.
Right.
And basically that was the outline. And then, of course, those kids, as they grow up, Luke takes them under his wing and teaches them how to become Jedis.
And the girl's more
outline supposed to be followed. Now, in my opinion,
I think Rod's completely lost right now. Have we lost you?
No.
Okay, I'm just making sure.
Are you able to keep up, Rod? Because I was just
totally
thinking
behind you in the sense that I suck and haven't seen Rogue One, but
oh no.
But no, I'm not a stranger to Star Wars.
Well, this isn't really like any kind of like releasing details about like Han Solo getting killed or anything, but
spoiler
to me,
alert, it was Captain Kirk who did it.
Yes, it was Captain Kirk. My bad. He fell off a flight of stairs.
It's all connected.
No, for me, when you watch the first 3 and how they separated the kids at birth, to keep them, as how they were growing up, in my imaginary mind of being a nerd, that's how I feel about these 2. The kids that got separated at birth. One went to, as she is on a scrapyard of an island, while he went off to the Jedi training and went to the dark side. There was like a split there.
We're talking about Rey and Kylo Ren?
Yes, they're brother and sister, and they don't know yet.
So your theory is that they're brother and sister?
My theory says that they're brother sisters.
So you're saying that when
because Princess Leia and Luke Skywalker didn't know until even after they made out. Okay.
Yeah, that was awkward.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, but that was a little bit different.
If you also follow the original Jedi Order,
so
the Jedis are not allowed to have any attachments to anything. So if
do you feel that
told he has a kid, well, it's out of the imaginary. He didn't have kids. He wasn't allowed to have kids. At the end of Return of the Jedi, he didn't have a relationship with anybody.
Well, there is a book for. I mean, we can go on so many different topics here, but
let's save that for another time.
Yeah.
Some of that stuff because we could go on all night about that.
Yeah, we can go into Boba Fett, or escaping the Sarlacc pit and all that other stuff, but we're not going to go there.
Let's not say we did.
So thumbs up for the Rogue One, basically.
It was 2 thumbs up. It was worth going to see a second time, and I'm getting ready to plan on doing that again soon.
Good deal.
I saw an IMAX 3D in Merritt Island at the Cobb Theaters.
I am looking forward to my second viewing.
It's awesome. I've seen it 3 times.
It was definitely worth seeing.
What is everyone's plans for 2017 looking ahead? I mean, I'm not going to ask if you guys have resolutions. I usually don't make a lot of New Year's resolutions. It's just not my thing. But what are you guys looking forward to this coming year the most? Rod, I know you and I are getting together with the band tomorrow, but what are you looking forward to 2017?
Finishing this damn CD.
Yes.
That has taken forever.
Yes, we have been in the studio for a while on this, just recording it slowly. It's I want to say 90% done.
And who are you guys working with?
We're working with Mark Brazel.
Okay. Yeah, it's if you follow the how Who Was I got theirs done, it did take a while because Mark Mark is one of the best production guys on the planet Earth, and he is always on tour. So when you do get a chance to work with him, do it no matter what.
Mark Brazel is sort of our engineer and co-producer for this next record we're working on. He has a studio.
He's audio extraordinaire.
Yeah, the Zone Productions in Melbourne is where we're recording our next EP, and so we're doing that. But yeah, going back to you, Rod. I know you're saying finishing the CD. I know we have maybe a couple new shows in the works, but we haven't really been focusing on live too much, so much as like. And I guess we're gonna get into this tomorrow when we talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to writing new songs, and looking forward to. We talked about getting into doing some like live streaming stuff in 2017, as opposed to venue performances where we were gonna stream some live stuff right out of the studio. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah, no, we definitely want to kind of expand our multimedia content, and try and experiment with different ways of getting our music out there and different ways of promoting ourselves, and not just being sort of not just a band but sort of a brand as well, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, certainly.
John, I know you're expecting your second daughter, this year. Anything in 2017 in particular you're looking forward to?
Well, that is the most anticipated, is definitely my second daughter. That's actually right around the corner. So March 1st is coming real fast.
Wow.
Especially,
is that when your wife is due, or?
Yeah, March 1st. So,
nice.
I mean, especially if she's early. So it's like really around the corner. So that's the most anticipated thing. And then really it's just it's funny. Life revolves around the kids now,
Sure.
like, but thankfully I have a lot of great friends, that the ones that I do get to physically interact with, like they have kids around the same age. So it's just like a lot of the same things of like just going through life together and raising kids. And then, hopefully I can get to do a lot of other fun things, like talk to you guys and make this podcast and stuff like that.
Sure.
So,
man.
Yeah, watch some movies.
Definitely. Chris, have you got some stuff in the works for 2017? I know it's always something with you.
I'm not going to comment. Just kidding. No, for
what do you
me,
mean you're not going to comment? I'm giving you a platform.
I will not tell. No,
okay. Wait, Chris, look at me.
Look at me.
You will tell.
I'm going to put my hand right up here. Use the force. No,
John just tried the Jedi mind trick on Chris. I just saw it.
There's my birthday show coming up.
I even have my Jedi hood.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah,
he's in a full hoodie right now. You guys can't see it, but trust us.
I got the birthday bowling party on the 26th. The 28th is actually Tim Greer and my birthday at the same time with Darren Fox and a few other people. We're actually, I can announce it tonight because you probably won't release this for about another week or so. We're also going to try to raise some funds for JC from 9 Mile Drive as well.
Yes. Before we go on, we've had some really bad health scares with friends of ours.
Yeah.
One of probably the most notable of which is a friend of ours, JC Edwards, who's the lead singer of a band called 9 Mile Drive, who we're friends with.
These are a few people that I've unfortunately lost to the music scene recently. The other one was shortly after Mayfest, not even like 2 months. The guy that did the lighting, Ed Waldick, his wife passed away.
Right. And
then shortly, probably not even a month or two later, he passed away. So the guy who did the lights and sound, the actual lights for Mayfest, him and his wife both passed away recently. So I've had some close friends pass away. And it's been really tough to move forward past that when you've had direct contact with these people.
Right.
But for me, it's just constantly about moving forward, trying to do the best I can, put the best shows together I can. I got to attend Kink Fest recently and meet and greet with a guy who puts all that together. Same with Space Coast Harley. Working with Alicorp Productions, trying to get showcase locations for that. I'm basically going to try to stay busy. My toes are going to be hurting because I'm going to be running all over the place. My neck hurts already. I'm just going to do as many shows as possible this year. I'm working on actually releasing my LLC, but that's still up in the air. There's just so much going on. I just can't tell you all right now because it's just as it comes. There's going to be the documentary release party shows, and Vertebreaker is definitely going to be a part of that. And we're hoping to have that kicked out the door before 2017 ends.
Yeah.
If it doesn't, well, then, there's always 2018.
And again, I definitely want to, emphasize what's going on with JC. Unfortunately, he's, come down with just a bad form of cancer.
It's in the spine.
Yeah, it's
really bad.
It's the prognosis isn't good right now. We can just hope that he's not in a lot of pain right now, and just whatever comes out of this, it's not looking good for a friend of ours. We're praying that he pulls through, but it's just a real tough time because we don't know what's going to happen right now, and I don't want to say that that something's going to happen, but it's he's fighting for his life right now.
Yeah, there is a online GoFundMe right now as well.
Mm-hmm.
There's also a benefit February 25th at the State Theater in St. Pete. There's so much going on to try to help this young man. His family is just trying to do the best they can.
He's just, he's not just a great singer, but he's just a great human being. Every time I've interacted with him, he's just been one of the nicest guys to me, and I've gone and sang on stage with him, and he's just one of the sweetest guys I've met in the business, really. And I just hate to hear about this stuff happening to him. I also want to give another acknowledgement to another friend of ours. Her name is Sterling Rose. Her mom is Rhonda Rhodes. She's the head of Super Fox Promotions. She's another promoter around here who's been very good to us. Sterling is just a sweet girl. We've met her a bunch of times, and she unfortunately had a really bad stroke, and she's recovering from that, and it was a very serious condition. They're saying that there's a good chance that she make a recovery from that, but there was a time where we weren't sure. And I think she's on the mend. She's definitely not her old self yet, but hopefully hopefully her mom is playing this for her right now. And just, Sterling, if you can hear this, we love you, and we just hope you get better. And we want to see you out there again in the crowd, supporting us as you always do. So,
yeah, basically, this local music scene is like a family to me. Everybody's a part of it somehow, some way. And, it might be just bands and promoters and venues, but for me, you guys are like family. If something happens, I'm worried. If there's anything I could do, I try to help.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just how it works around here.
Yeah, absolutely. But again, with some of the tragedy also comes opportunity and stuff. Like, John, you said you're about to become a father again. I'm going to become a father for the first time in June. My wife and I found out that we're expecting our first, and that it's going to be a girl.
Yeah, man, that's awesome.
So how that's going to affect things, I don't know. I know this
is your last podcast. Just kidding.
I hope not. I still want to do this. I still want to be out there in the band, and still want.
It's gonna change your life.
No,
but it's gonna be for the better.
Of course,
it'll be for the better. So.
And I know that, and and like Christine and I were even having a discussion. It was like, well, look, if it's going to come down to finances. I know you love being in the band, but if it's going to be too expensive, then we might have to renegotiate that whole deal. She's kind of my Vince McMahon right now, basically. Call back.
Yeah, I watched that video like 4 times on how she announced it to you.
Yes, that
was awesome. You're just like, what?
Yeah, well, you don't really unhear something like that.
Am I like pranked or something here?
Well, yeah, she took a video of my reaction to it without me knowing, so maybe she knows a thing or two about putting content out there that
You must have watched a couple episodes of Punk.
I have tried to get her on the podcast, by the way. She does not want to be on it, so I'm still fighting that battle. She would be actually pretty entertaining, but she's just not having it right now.
Yeah, there's guys that I've heard who were married for like forever, and I've just met their wife like after like 15 years of not even knowing they were married.
It's weird.
It happens like that, you know.
It's just people get busy. People get their own stuff going on. So that's.
Oh, I'm married. Been married for 15 years. Like, really?
Yeah.
Where's she at? You never see her.
Yeah, it's like if you're not coming over the house, or like she's going on doing stuff, I'm doing stuff. So it's
Yeah.
It is what it is. But it's all good. I think 2017 is. I think it's going to be a good year. Hopefully, everyone listening. Hopefully, you had a good 2016. If you didn't, hopefully, next year is good for you too. And I think that was Rod's girlfriend Lacey poking her head in at some point. I don't know.
You see that? I disappeared behind a wall of curly hair.
I don't know if she made a run in.
There it is.
How you doing, girlfriend?
Good.
Lacey is like the unofficial den mother of the band. She really keeps us all on track. She is the anti-Yoko Ono. She's not breaking up anyone. So yeah, nice. Thank you, Lacey, for making a run in. Appreciate that. Making the hot tag, as they say in the wrestling business. Just coming in, cleaning house.
Big Cass.
Yes, exactly. Well, anyways, you can always hear John on my movie podcast. You can find what me and Rod and the band are doing on vertebreaker.net. Chris, where can they find Chris Marsh Productions and everything you have going on?
On Facebook, Instagram, and of course, you can also follow me with the Alicorp Productions live events.
Gotcha. Do you have a website or anything that you could promote for the people, or?
Yeah, Facebook.com/Chris Marsh Productions.
There it is. Excellent. You're getting the hang of this, kid. You're natural.
Yeah. It's not my first rodeo.
All right. Well, thank you guys all for doing this. Thank you guys for listening. This has been a really good year in review for John, for Rod, and Lacey, and for Chris. I'm Jack Connor. This has been the Phoenix Report. We'll see you guys later. Rock on. Have a good 2017. As a quick side note, a few days after we had originally recorded this podcast, we did find out that J.C. Edwards had indeed lost his battle with cancer. And we just want to express our condolences to his family, his friends, and everyone who's ever loved him. And so there's really not much more you can say to that. It's a tragic thing, and he will absolutely be missed. Make sure you follow me on Twitter at JackXConnor. Like me on Facebook at facebook.com/JackConnorMusic. Feel free to check out the band at www.vertebreaker.net. If you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, make sure you email me at jackconnorpodcast@gmail.com or tweet me with the hashtag Phoenix Report. If you're listening to this on YouTube or iTunes, make sure you subscribe, leave a comment, and go back and listen to all the other episodes. Thank you very much for listening. We'll see you next time. Bye.